Sakura Himori was born in the city of Nara, Japan, among the green nature and its sacred deer. She stayed there only for a week before her family moved to Canada, leaving her roots behind. In a foreign land, Sakura grew with a Canadian body, but a Japanese soul. Her grandmother would send her pictures of temples and forests and tell her about the history of the samurai, planting in her heart the dream of return. Sakura grew up studying Japanese martial arts with determination. She mastered the katana as if it were an extension of her hand, and studied the history of Japan as if writing her own biography. After graduating from university, she did not celebrate with her classmates, but instead booked her first ticket to Tokyo. Wearing a dark kimono and a gaze that knew no hesitation, it was time to return. Her journey began at Fushimi Inari in Kyoto, where thousands of red Torii gates twisted over green hills, between the silence of the forest and the sound of her steps. Sakura walked with her pink sword at her side as if passing through a time tunnel leading back to the samurai era. At the mountain's peak, she closed her eyes and whispered, "I am here, Japan, I have never forgotten you." In the Arashiyama bamboo grove, she felt the trees listening to her whispers. She raised her sword and began her combat practice in harmony with the wind. The light filtering between the towering stalks made her feel as if she were inside a living dream, or a poem where the shadows of samurai danced. When she reached Mount Fuji, she stood at its majestic frozen base and took a deep breath. Among the white clouds, she felt as if the spirits of past warriors were watching her. She climbed a few steps upward and wrote in her notebook, "Strength is not measured by muscles, but by standing firm before the mountain." In the Nara Deer Park, she walked among the deer that approached her gently as if she were their daughter returning from a long journey. She sat under a cherry blossom tree and wrote in her notebook about the strange paradox. She was born here, yet had no memories, only this warm feeling in her heart. From the silence of nature to the noise of the noise city, she walked among the crowds at Shibuya, crossing in Tokyo, electronic eyes, giant billboards and lights that never sleep. Surrounded by all this, she walked steadily like a warrior who could not be lost in the crowd. She drew gazers with her kimono and sword, but never turned to look back. At Osaka Castle, she walked between the white walls and golden roofs, imagining herself part of the old guard. She performed a sword dance before the main tower and felt the stones absorb her energy, just as they had held the stories of thousands of warriors before her. At the floating gate of Itsukushima Shrine, she felt awe as she gazed in silence. She sat on the shore and remembered her grandmother's words. Sometimes true beauty is not touched but felt. In Hakone, she entered a traditional hot spring and rested in the warm water surrounded by mountains. She closed her eyes and felt her body wash away all the exhaustion and her spirit begin to heal. The quiet here was more powerful than any duel of swords. At Nikko Toshigu Shrine, she looked at the carvings and the statues of the three wise monkeys and thought about her own inner silence, her unspoken thoughts. Before the shrine, she knelt not to pray but to give thanks, for she realized Japan had never left her. It had always been with her in her heart. In the city of Furano in the north, she walked through the vast lavender fields of Hokkaido. The cold air played with her pink hair, and the fragrance filled her chest with life. She smiled at last. She opened her notebook and wrote only one sentence. "Now at last I am whole." After a year of travel, Sakura returned to Nara. She was no longer the girl searching for her identity, but the woman who carried Japan in every cell of her body. She opened a school to teach the way of the samurai to girls, turning it into a message of peace, not violence. She would always tell her students, "I came back to learn, but I found myself." And so Sakura Himori, the modern samurai, became a symbol for those who return not to a place, but to the spirit.